it's my pleasure to introduce one of our very own, Jean-Louis. He's been a member here for a while now. He's very well known for his work. His finial work is amazing, and these balls, and I'm not going to pronounce them, I'm going to let you pronounce them because I will butcher it, are very intricate and incredible work, and he's going to go through how he does that today. But also his basket illusion work. If you have a chance, we put the links in the email. Go out and take a look at his website. Jean-Louis does some great work, and we have so many fantastic turners in this club. It's wonderful when they come up and offer to do a demonstration and talk to us about some of the things they do. And so I'd like to introduce Jean-Louis.
Thank you. So, by the way, you are going to meet Jean-Claude Charpignan and Paul Texier that I met 2 years ago. And Paul Texier say hi to everybody. I talked to him yesterday. So how did I come to that to that type of wood turning? And this is the fault of Harvey when he asked me, and I thank you very much for that. He asked me in early 2019 if I could check a French YouTube that he saw about sphere and stars, and he didn't remember the URL. So I started to dig, and the first thing I found is a book of 1816, 3 volumes, the manual of the turner, the handbook of the wood turner. So I download them and start to turn pages, and I was surprised about what I was looking at. That's, you know, they had even a sphere jig already at the time. The Longworth chuck was called Free-jaw chuck 250 years ago. So I was very surprised, and they had a lot of, the other way around, a lot of explanation about how they were doing this, all these things, you know, with the tool, the spiral with different bind shape and so on, the rampart here also turning to an angle of your spindle, you know. So I was pretty surprised, and I kept digging and find another 2 books from 1701. Wow. And I said, my gosh, so the same thing, all the tools, you recognize these tools, you know, and we're using the same one. The only thing we improved is the lathe. We improved it so much that we cannot do what we were doing before, unless you do a jig, you know, like the spiral and so on. And finally, I find the YouTube that Harvey was looking at. And when I saw that, I was hooked. I said, I need to try this type of wood turning. So I start to do research on Paul Texier, find absolutely nothing. And I find why later on. He doesn't have internet. So I asked a friend of mine to find his phone number in the phone book of Mio, where he lives. And it took me a while to call him, because I just had to turn less than 2 years before, and he was already turning for 30 years, so you can imagine. And finally I called him, and I will never regret it, you know. And since we talk every 2 or 3 weeks, and so he talked to me about the Boules de Canton, how he does that, and so on. And he said, you know, before you start, you should buy a set of tools and try to see if you like that type of wood turning. And he gave me the phone number of Jean-Claude Charpignan, who designed tools, and he has a friend that fabricates them. So I went ahead and buy a set of tools and even the chuck and so on, you know. And Jean-Claude has a good mechanical background, so he does his own ornamental lathe. I think he has 3 or 4 in his shop. And Paul and Jean-Claude are really outstanding master wood turner. I mean, unbelievable. And I learned a lot from them. So when for Paul Texier reproduced masterpiece from François Barrault, who was a wood turner from the 18th century, from pictures, while he doesn't have internet. And alone in his little one-car garage shop, you know, he does all these things, you know. And in 2021, I was going to France, and Jean-Claude and Paul invited me to spend a few days at the shop with them. And these few days are unforgettable. I mean, it's unbelievable. So in a sense, what you need to do that, it's a sphere, obviously. And the sphere needs to be almost perfect. I mean, Jean-Claude will tell you that the sphere should be a diameter minus 0 plus 1 dixième of millimeter. He says if you can reach the centième of millimeter, it's even better. You know? So Paul Texier don't use a sphere G. He used this little, you know, like you see on the picture here. And his spheres are almost perfect. Of course, after 30 years, yeah, you can expect that, you know. It is unbelievable. And the book show you different ways of doing sphere. You can use Jim Rogers method, you can use Bob Roscoe method, you can use Charles Plumier, but the best thing, and Jean-Claude recommend to use a sphere G, and not a light one, an heavy duty like this one, which is pretty heavy. No.
Can you hold that up high?
So this is the shop of Jean-Claude, and you can see on the left side, you can see four lathes. On the other side, all the ornamental lathe that he fabricated himself. And so it's going to show me how he can shave few hundreds of millimeters on to do a sphere. And he recommends obviously a heavy duty one, not a light one. So when he shoveled, you know, he measured in two areas, perpendicular to the 45-degree angle of your spindle, and that's what he does. And when you find that, for example, in that case, he's larger here, he's going to lift, without moving the cutting part of the sphere, he's going to lift the end, you know, and remove a few hundreds of millimeters and drop it when he doesn't need to move wood, like he's doing here now. He just lifts that side. And you need some space here to get more leverage, because if you are too close to the rotation, you are going to remove 100 of millimeter only. When I did mine, I was a little bit closer, so I was removing very little wood. You know. Yeah, when he come back, he just drop and do the reverse, you know, like this, he doesn't touch the sphere anymore. And then to use a capillary is good, but it's not as accurate as a micrometer, you know. So that's what he is going to use later on to measure his sphere. Because that's the most important. The sphere needs to be almost perfect. If not, your tool holder will bump, and my first sphere was like that. I think it was minus 1 dixième to 2 or 3 dixième, you know, and it was something else.
Jean-Louis, what kind of wood do you recommend?
I do that with maple. You can do it in black walnut, but the recommended wood is boxwood. But it's difficult to find here. So every time I go in France, my suitcase is full of boxwood. So here he has almost a perfect sphere already, because at one point it was 1 dixième, and on the other side he was 300. So, I mean, that was okay, but he wanted to show me how he can shave more hundreds of millimeters. So in that case, he's going to do it again, but he's going to remove wood in the middle only, not on the side. And then he's going to lift. And you see the dust coming out, you know, the sawdust going out.
Et quand tu viens en arrière, tu fais l'inverse. Oui.
So he just removed, I believe, 800 of millimeters or 600 of millimeters here. So this is almost a perfect sphere. He's at 200s and 300s on the other side. And he's doing it again to try to remove this 200, but we moved a little bit more this time. So that's, and when I did mine, I was too close to the rotation of the, so I removed very, very little, but I follow the same principle, you know. And I removed very, very little on that side, because I was longer on that side than on the other side. So here I end up with a sphere that was like 400 of millimeter in one direction and 200 of millimeter on the other one. And you feel it on your tool. It's very smooth when you use the tool holder. It's a little bit tricky to measure with micrometer because of the curve of the sphere. You know, you have to make sure that you tap the diameter and not, you know. So here I think I am at 400. Yeah, 4 centimes, yeah. Yeah, 4 centimes. And here too, yeah. So after that, yeah. Yeah, it's tricky to measure correctly. All right, now, yeah.
65.2.
So question, John Louis.
So 200, so
For a lot of us out here, how much latitude do we actually have to play with on this sphere? How accurate do we really have to be to make one of these?
when you finish the sphere, and the time, you mean if you leave it, it could move quickly.
Oh, okay.
You know, because if you leave it on the table the next day, you get different dimension because of the humidity, because of, so it's better to do the stair and do the star right away, or the Boules de Canton.
And so Jean-Louis, a follow-up on Jim's question. How important is it that be down to your 400ths?
It's very important.
Okay,
It's the most important thing to do this type of object, because if you don't have that, you know,
exactly.
that hundreds of the sphere that you have inside are affected.
It's going to jam.
Because if your tool starts to bump, the other sphere also are bouncing and you may break the smaller one inside.
Okay.
So if it is, and the movement of the, because basically you use this tool, right? And you follow like that. So if this does this, the inside
It's a mess.
could
Okay.
break easily.
So the answer is it's important.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And then the tracing. Of course, you need a chuck to maintain the sphere. And this is the one that I got from France. And I tried to, it came with an M33. My lathe was 1 1/4, so I had to get an adapter, another 3 inches, a lot of, you know, vibration and so on. So I give up with that, and I built up this one with a base plate, and I use a 2-inch PVC pipe, you know, for the thread, and the ring here, the flange, with a pin like this. When you tighten the sphere, the flange doesn't turn, you know. And so this is the one that Paul Texier, by the way, used only 4 screws, like you can see here, which is way easier. And by the way, the manual of 1816 show you exactly what everybody used, still now, with the thread and so on. And then you use the tool. Presently I use the tool designed by Jean-Claude, and this is for the 7 spheres, and that's for the 5 with a star. And that's the tool holder. So you can see already that as soon as you change the diameter of the sphere, guess what? The diameter, the tools change, the tool holder change, the chuck change, everything changes. Because you need to adapt everything to the diameter of the sphere. And the key thing on the tools is that the cutting part is the only one, is the only thing that needs to touch the wood, nothing else. So that's why you remove metal from the side here and underneath, in particular when you go at the center of the sphere, the diameter is smaller. So you need to remove more metal. And I use HSS film that you can get on Amazon, and cut the tools from here.
So you made all your own tools?
I broke one, so I had to do it to finish the video. And I broke it, and funny enough, when I glue it to get the model to do the tool, I noticed that he broke here, right? I don't know if you see it here, which is not normal. He should have broke on top here on the middle and say, damn, why did he? And then I saw a picture that I took of his tool a few months before, and I saw the same mark. So he had the defect, and I didn't pay attention. I could have grind it and it would not have broken, but then I did this one to reproduce it.
Okay.
So it's not that difficult to do the tools. You will see it. So if I can do it, everybody can do it. I mean, that's... what you need to do also is to have a lot of template, to check your work along the way. And Poltex here has a lot of them, So Jean-Claude showed me how to do the tools. When I broke mine here, I just watched that video and reproduced what he was doing, So I used the same tool to cut the HSS and a bench grinder to remove as much as possible. And then he used to fine-tune he used this one that is 320 grit. And you can find that on Amazon. I bought mine in AliExpress, like he did, but I find them on Amazon also, for $20. So if you change the diameter of your sphere, and you do the design on a piece of paper with your compass and so on, you can design the tool. And with a double-sided tape, you can put it on your HSS and cut it, and fabricate the tool. Poltex here don't use this type of tool. You are going to see what he used. And then you are going to question yourself, how can you do all this masterpiece with this? But he does, no internet, so he does what he can do, and he does it good. So that's what he used to finish and, fine-tune the tool, and remove as much as possible to avoid touching the wood, except the cutting part. And when you sharpen them, you sharpen them from the face, flat, and that's it. So I can pass that, and then you need to do the tracing, where you are going to do all your cuts. And Claude Letec was from Quebec, and he came up with an Excel spreadsheet where when you put the diameter of a sphere, he will calculate all the dimension to allow you to draw all the platonic polyhedron on a sphere with a compass. The book from 1816 that is here has 19 pages of cosinus, sinus, tangent, and so on for people that like the math, But this is way easier. And of course, you are dealing with a Boules de Canton that is normally 12 opening, and at 65 millimeter, this is an L point, and the distance here, because the L point is the projection of the center of the face to the surface of the sphere, and the distance is 34.17. So that's what you need to do. If you want that Excel spreadsheet, just send me a message and I'll send it to you. So here I explain a little bit more in detail how you trace it from, what you do with your sphere, you got obviously 2 end grain, and you start from one and you go down to the next one. So you will draw a circle.
So we need to do the tracing.
So you draw a circle from the point.
The opening that we're going to create in that sphere. Project the center of each face to the sphere. And Claude Leter did a spreadsheet.
That's a little bit of repetition, but from the point you draw a circle, a complete circle,
But the distance between
and then from that circle you draw 5 points.
17.
And at that, if you go from point 5 to point 1, you can check the opening of the compass. If you don't hit point 1, the opening, your sphere is a good sphere, the opening is not correct.
34.17 millimeter. And I am going to try to match here with the compass an opening of 34.17.
Yeah, point 17 millimeter, So that's why I drove a full circle here first.
And from that circle, any place, let's say from here,
And if you have a piece of wood like this, that's why you check the defect to remove it when you do the hole, And
and from these 5 points, we need to
so you're going to draw from the 5 point arcs again to get the other 5 points.
see here. We trace each other.
And then from these 5 points, we are going to go to the other end grain, and all the arcs should cut at one point. If it doesn't cut, that means that the sphere is not almost perfect. So here we are lucky, we have 1 point.
And we do only 1 point. So the tracing is good. So now we are ready for the next operation.
So the next one is to draw the circle where you are going to do cut. And if you do Boules de Canton with 7 sphere, it's 22 millimeter. If you do the star, it's 25.
Start to draw.
And here I am drawing for the star. It's the same tracing except the opening. So you have 12 openings, and then you can decide if you want to use the secondary opening. The secondary opening are basically the vertex of the dodecahedron. So it's the summit at the surface of the sphere, and that's 20 of them. And Claude Leter gives you the dimension like 20-something millimeter, 2086 or something like that. And that's what I do on mine. And if you want to do it, it's more work. It takes longer to do all these 20 balls to go through the first 4 spheres. So that's what we do. And so I am going to the next one. And then you need to center the sphere to cut, to do all your cutting. So the typical method is that one. And what I did, I bought on Amazon a cross-line laser for $5 or something like this. Of course, they are not that precise. So I use the tailstock to do it and align with the headstock. That's the third one. I didn't see anybody using that method. And because in order to turn true, you need to match the horizontal plane and the vertical plane that is in the axe of your spindle. And here I do it approximately at 1 millimeter, and I look at the horizontal plane and the vertical plane with the mark of my compass.
1 millimeter.
Because if you do it, like we do when we turn a piece of wood to center it, then you let the piece of wood move and so on before you touch it. You cannot do that because you may destroy the mark of the compass, and then you're lost, But I never see anybody using that. Because you need to put both, one in front of the other one, So that's how you do centering over there. And my crossline laser helped me also to make sure that my sphere jig is positioned correctly, because the axis of rotation should match the axis of rotation of your spindle. If not,
The method to center the sphere will be the next.
so here I am going to show the difference between the common way of doing it and my cross line laser that I really prefer now, because it's way faster and easier. But I have a design change because I use my tailstock, and then when I remove it from my tailstock to do piercing, for example, and put it back, I need to shim it again, So what I will do a heavy support on my lathe and block it on the other rail like this. I have the same position all the time.
I think the cross-line laser,
For me, I prefer that. It's way easier, and because I got a square, that is less than 1 millimeter, so I can put my compass right in the middle.
it's way faster.
So the cutting of the opening now, it's. So I am on the last opening here. I was keeping that to do it here, but then I say, well, if you do it here with the tool, my head, and so on, you don't see anything, So that would be better. And the tool that I use here is the pointed tool that I have over there, and I use just the point, not the side. I use the left side just to make sure that my cone is straight. If he is bumpy, when I use the tool holder and so on, he will not cut the last sphere. So I make sure that it's straight. And here it's at center or a little bit above, but not that much. And you are on end grain here also, which is a little bit more tricky. So here, Portex use a lot of template, to make sure that the cone is the same dimension and so on, What I do here, I use the tool. The tool needs to fit, and it's the same thing. And I have a template, but I keep forgetting using it, so. So because you are on your last opening here, as soon as you you start with the longest tool, you have you have all of them here. You will start with the one that is coming to the center, and you are going to see that as soon as you do that, you are going to hear a noise when the small sphere inside is detached. You may hear the noise. And then you go, after this one, you go to the second one, and you go towards the outside of the sphere. So here I noticed that the tube was not fitting and I had a bit of gun. So I clean it and open it a little bit. Because you don't want to use the left side because you will create lateral forces that may off-center your sphere. So here, after the annotation goes out, you are going to hear a little noise. That's when the bottom sphere is detached. You heard it. And the thing here with the tool holder is that it needs to rub on the surface of the sphere without too much pressure. The pressure is vertical because you have only one point here that push it, so you don't want the tool holder to shift, you know. So that's the first tool. You go to the second one and you do the same thing.
But I noticed all the internal spheres appear to be like very smooth. Is that all just with the cutting tools?
With the cutting tools and because the sphere is almost perfect. If it was not perfect, you will have deformation of all of them and even may break the bottom one.
But there's no tear out or anything
No,
like that?
no. Because the cutting is 2 millimeters and it's very sharp and nothing else touches the wood. And that's why it's very smooth when you cut it. I go in and out to remove that. For example, Jean-Claude goes one pass, but he used a lot of boxwood, which is better to work to do this type of thing. The ivory is even better, but now ivory you cannot use it. There is only one person in France that can use ivory, because he bought all of them before the band and he got a certificate from the custom and so on. He's the only one that can use ivory. If the sphere was not almost perfect, you will hear the support tool bumping, you know.
What are you using here?
Here,
Yeah.
I'm using maple.
Maple.
Yeah. The last piece of boxwood that I got at the crack, and Paul gave it to me. He said you can use it for support, a good trembleur. And what I did, I put epoxy in the crack with turquoise and let it dry and tried to do sphere with that. You know. I prefer to do a sphere than a trembleur. You know, I mean, so Jean-Claude, it takes Jean-Claude approximately 3 hours to do a sphere like that. You know. It will take me a little bit longer. And particularly when you do the 20 holes, you know, the 20 secondary holes, I mean, it's... by the way, I use his support tool that he gave me when I was over there, when I did my first Boules de Canton with star over there. I did the first one with 7 sphere before I went to France.
So Jean-Louis, so if I understand correctly, at this point, the only one that's detached is the inner one, right?
Yeah.
Because the other ones you're not reaching all the way around. So
No,
those are
because
good.
the other one are tight with polystyrene. Every time you do, and we are going to see that on that one, every time you do an opening, you need to block all of them. So the Bergeron will tell you to do that in wood. So we use polystyrene and we block all of them. And here I did a little bit, you know, with the tool that you can fabricate. You can even use this when you fabricate the tool. You can use this machine, you know, with the special drill and to final all your curves and so on.
So you're just sanding up the middle right there.
I I sand just a little bit, and I try to sand also between the cut, you know, to remove a little bit the edge, but, you know. So here we are going to do a plug, and the most important thing is to make sure that all of them are, you know, maintained. And in particularly the bottom one, which are the smallest one, and the intersection between, the distance between the cutting are 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter and a half. And it's easier to do it here because what I do, you oversize the cone, basically, and I try to put it inside when you are going to see what I do, to try to see the mark of the bottom one, and then I shave it to make sure that I hold it. My polystyrene could be a little bit longer to help me to put it in also, but I use my ruler to force it inside. So you need to be careful about your fingers also. You're not going to cut that.
Is that a cork?
No, that's polystyrene.
Polystyrene.
Yes. That you use for insulation, you know. And when you force it, because it's oversized, when you force it, you get some that goes between the cut. And that maintains all the sphere. And here I want to make sure that I hold the one in the bottom, so I'm going to force it to see the imprint of the last one. And then I will shave it again a little bit more. You see some here, I brought some here as an example. And you can see the imprint here when you force it. No.
So those are not reusable, you make those each time.
Yeah, that's, and it's not that difficult to do, you know. When you have a star, it's a little bit more tricky because you cannot test, you know. You are going to see when I do the star, the one that I put was a little bit too thick, you know. I should have shaved it a little bit more. But yeah, it would help if my polystyrene was a little bit longer, you know. And I am plugging the last one because we are doing another 20 opening. And the 20 opening will be done on 4 spheres inside. So you need to center the sphere 20 more times. So I use this step bit here, but when I was at Jean-Claude Champignon, I used another tool that he gave me that is here on the table somewhere to do the piercing of this 20. This, you know, allow me to do all of them identical. Yeah, that's the other tool that I used before.
What I did here is that I measure I am piercing 4 spheres inside.
I could have pierced 5
When
also.
I write here, I stop and I know that I pierced 4.
Now when you squeeze this, you are squeezing one sphere that is 3 millimeters thick only. So you could crack it, and one of these days I know I am going to crack one because I have a tendency to tie it pretty.
And here I'm not very.
Yeah, you are cutting 3 millimeters, 2, 2, 2.
I am piercing
Wood
4
and
spheres that
air, wood, air, wood, air.
3 millimeters thick, and the others
So that's, do errors. And then here you unplug everything.
There just use a screw, like that, just to...
Jean-Louis, what kind of lathe speed were we just looking at? You couldn't really tell. Was that fast?
What type of?
How fast was your lathe going when you were doing the piercing?
Oh, I don't turn, I turn between 600 and 800, around 700. Paul Texier will turn at 300, 400. Now Jean-Claude Champignon went to do this pretty fast, he turned at 1500.
See, you can see...
And it's not dangerous because everything is, I mean, the only thing you do is to break the sphere inside or, So I forgot to reset the camera here. So you will have a quick replay, the thick one, because I put back few of them, to... Yeah, the next try that I do, I will use Paul Texier with 4 screws. That's, forget the thread and so on, it's easier and faster to do. It takes him approximately 2 hours to do a chop. Doesn't matter the size, with the hemispheric cavity and so on. So that's the replay.
Turn the curve of the sphere in the chuck with the Vermac?
Pardon?
You turn the inside of the sphere?
Yes, I use that sphere jig to do the inside also, which is a big advantage.
Cement sphere, one inside the other one, 12 major opening, and 20 secondary opening.
So pass it around to one. Yeah, the small sphere is only 15 millimeter inside. So to do it with a star, it's exactly the same tools, the same principle, except the tools are different, and the opening here is 25 millimeter. All the rest is identical. So we could go a little bit faster here.
No standing on the other one either?
No. And with boxwood, it's even nicer because the cut is it's a clean cut.
What's the moisture content you look for in the maple? What moisture content? It's dry and soft. The moisture content?
Oh, it's pretty dry. It's, yeah, here
You don't want no movement.
you need very, very dry piece of wood. The boxwood that I use, it's almost 10 or 12 years. But no movement, no nothing. So that's the way, he showed me how to do his star. Paul Texier will do the star from the point directly to 5.5 millimeter to the bottom, straight. Jean-Claude, and I do now the method of Jean-Claude, it's round for 1 centimeter or so, and then straight, so it's stronger. Paul Texier, very precise, very, And when you do the star, you need to be a little bit above the center. If you are at the center, the small vibration will kick the star out of the branch. And here, you use your tool as template. We need to fit. And that's more delicate because the sphere inside, between the holes is 1 millimeter approximately. So if you open the bottom a little bit too much, you will break the one inside. And the bottom of the base of the branch should be flat. So you got the pentagon as a base, like the face of the dodecahedron. Yeah, you give me that one also, that I use. So here, what he's doing is that when he uses the sphere jig, when he part the sphere when he's done, sometimes you are a little bit over 65. You know, if you're under, it's fine, but sometimes it's a little bit more. And you start always with the end grain, and where you cut it. And the star was a little bit longer, and it was touching the support tool. So he shaved it, you know, with sandpaper, and remove a little bit to not, you know, if you hit the star, you will break it when you push it, you know, when you push the tool over. So after that, he asked me to finish all the others. No pressure, you know, no pressure. Okay, finish all of them, you know. So here I use the command, you know, the way that everybody uses, you know, with the point, and you're at the vertical already, and now you search the horizontal plane. It's exactly the same principle than when you use the tailstone, you know. But that's a little bit time consuming, you know, sometimes.
So you're moving it by tapping.
Yeah. Because that's why you need the eye point, so you fit the vertical axe of your spindle, and you type it to reach the horizontal plane. And when you go over, you need to start all over again. So when you do the little holes, it's, you know, it's a little bit more tricky to tap in also. That's why the cross-line laser would be way easier. So here the same thing, you know, a little bit over the center and... Huh? There are other tools that exist that they use the right side, you know, to do the cone. And that's a little bit tricky because, I mean, the lateral force could be there, you know, and here we use just the point. I mean, it's 2 millimeter approximately, and it's this one. So I use either this point or that point only. I can pass this around. So when you do the star, you need to make sure that the first 5 millimeters are correct, you know, because you cannot go back after. I mean, you need to keep going. So these are the other tools also.
I'm going to grab mine on there. I'm not sure what that is. Mine on there.
Oh, the line with the one that I broke?
Yeah, I read mine on the very first one.
You can see the line here, and that's the defect of No, yeah, this one. No, here. Yeah, here.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We have a line out here.
No, well, that's okay, but it's this one where I broke.
Oh, okay. Louis, did you make your own tools?
No, these are, I did one, the one that broke, I did it myself, but the others I got it from Jean-Claude.
Does he sell us?
He designed them, but he doesn't sell them. He has somebody else that sells them, and that person doesn't sell them anymore because of the problem that he has. And now he passed all his design to, I have it on my, I put a lot of important link after, and you can buy them in the States also. And for the 7th sphere with the chuck and the tool rest, the tool order, and the tools, $400. And here, time to time, you need to check how deep you go in the star. And the first one that I didn't expect to turn when I was at Jean-Claude Place. So I didn't turn my glasses. When I do, I change my glasses and put the +3. So I went a little bit deeper, maybe 1 millimeter, and that was enough to break the sphere, the first sphere, you know.
Are there printed instructions on how to do this?
Yeah. Well, I put it also on the link.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The first experience that Jean-Claude had, he bought the tools from David Springer. And he told me that it took him 4 spheres to find out that they were not working. And because of that, he came up with, you know, what he found was wrong and came up with his new, well, he has a good mechanical background also, so, I mean, that helped a lot.
Just so you know, so the pictures, we're going to put the video on the internet sometime in the next few weeks. This video, you actually have a copy of this, it's actually 6 gigabytes, which means I can't put it on YouTube. So at some point, if everybody's really interested in seeing this again with Jean-Louis, we could probably do a Zoom meeting where you could watch it on Zoom and then do a personal recording of it. But it's 6 gigs. If I do that to YouTube, they would cancel my subscription.
But you could put the YouTube, I have the free parts on YouTube. I give you the YouTube address and that's it.
Oh, you need something smaller to put on?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the address.
Okay, yeah, so the address and everything?
Yeah,
Yeah, that I can do.
yeah, yeah.
Then I'll put it on the website.
Yeah. And all the link also, I give them to you.
So this will help a lot of you complete your bucket list.
So here's the same thing, and we do the little bead at the end and so on. So we go to the plug of that. That's a little bit more. It's here that I did. The one I did was a little bit too fat. You know, I should have shoved it a little bit more. And when you remove it, it's better to cut a little bit like this. You don't break the sphere that are inside. You know. Yeah, the Bergeron mentioned to do it in wood. Or imagine doing this in wood, you know, with a star in the middle. You know, I mean, that's very challenging again. So in that video, I did both spheres, the one with the 7 and the one with the 5 with the star. But this one is for Harvey. You take it back after. Thank you very much for, you know, allowing me to meet all these guys and the new turning. Yeah, because what you want the bottom of your plug to be approximately the same diameter, but you have also the star, and the star should not be squeezed, you know, so it's a little bit more tricky to do a plug. But definitely this is a little bit too big. So that's where the plug, that's where the branch of the star will go.
Is the star attached to the inner circle?
Yes. It's a, instead of to be the small circle, it's a small polyhedron with the 12 faces, and the star goes from there. That's why the base of the star is also a pentagon. And when you do the plug like this, you need to cut the excess, because the tool support will go through, and if you have a little bit of excess, it will move again, you know. And of course, not to cut the point of the star.
Inside, if you were to cut it in half, it'd look kind of like this one here, right? The one from Paul Dexter.
This one?
No, the one over here. One with all the points coming out.
Oh, this one?
No. On the table there. Cross section of what you're turning.
Oh.
Something like this on the inside.
Yeah, it's the same thing. What he did here, he did the sphere, and he did the different holes, right? And then he came here and detached that one to do this.
Yeah, but what you're cutting there is now, if you were to cut it in half, it'd be this part, right?
Correct. Yes. So then after we do the 12 opening the same way, right? But we did before. So I'm going to pass this. And we unplug the... So it's here that you should maybe cut the polystyrene when you feel that you have a little bit, when you block a little bit, you know. See, you see the flat section of the star, you know.
So it's like the same hole.
12.
Well,
12 and 20 others.
So Jean-Louis, so did you say it's a polystyrene or polyethylene?
Polystyrene.
So do you have any here? It looks softer than what you would
It's,
expect.
I have some
Yeah, the plugs.
here. Let me.
It's insulation that you put on the floor afterwards.
And you will see the small, the small one that was
You
there.
can cut it with the razor.
And this one is with the star. One is with the star.
You passing that around?
So that's with the star, with the 5 spheres and.
How many hours to complete that one right there?
You what?
How many hours to complete it?
With the star, with the holes and so on, for Jean-Claude, doesn't take that long, 3-4 hours with 20 holes. For me, it takes a little bit longer, you know, maybe 5-6 hours.
To do the entire thing?
The entire thing, yeah.
Right.
beside the sphere. And because the sphere takes another few hours to do. Yeah, just the sphere. Yeah. So this is Paul Texier. I spent some time in his shop, and you know, you can look at the tools that he's using already. So he doesn't like to center the sphere with a dot. He prefers a circle. So he drew a circle with the dry point of his compass, and then he turns a groove, and he makes sure that it's parallel. And he doesn't turn fast, he turns approximately at 300. And like he's going to explain that the flange is moving a little bit, but that's not important. The most important is that the chuck and the sphere are true. The flange could be a little bit twisted, that's fine.
Hey, Jean-Louis, do you know these guys who were turning in the 1700s? What kind of lathe speeds did they have?
Well, that's, nobody until now knows the tool that he was using or the lathe.
Oh, what tool?
When I did the part 3, that's the story of Paul Texier. He told me that he got into that turning in 1990 when he saw some pictures from a review of the Estampille from February 1990, and he had pictures of Boules de Canton and the masterpiece from François Barrault. He saw just a picture. So I dig to find out that document, and I found it. And I found out that when François Barrault died in 1814, something like that, he passed all his masterpiece to a test-tube guy in Lyon, and that guy sell it to the Conservatoire des Arts et Métiers in Paris. And on that article, I saw that he passed also 240 tools, and the two lathes that he was using, that nobody knows about. So I contacted the museum, because I spent 4 hours with them at the reserve in May when I was there. And I told them to start to dig that in the reserve, because they should be somewhere. You know, that would be interesting to see.
See the lathe that they use.
Oh, and the lathe, because he used the same, the article says that he used the same type of like 1816, you know, the same chuck, and it was using en l'air, like they said, you know. But it would be nice to see the lathe, you know. So I am in touch with the Museum of Paris, the Conservatoire, for this.
To try to find the old lathe.
Well, to find the lathe, and when I was over there, I saw 2 pieces from François Barrault that were completely dismantled in ivory and ebony. And I think we can reassemble them. There are 1 or 2 pieces that are broken, but they can be reproduced. But Paul Texier is an advocate of the keys theory principle, you know. I mean, everything is very simple. You notice the tool that he's using, you know. I mean, they are with wire and so on, you know. And you see some here. He used aluminum profile, you know, to maintain the HSS piece that he has on the other side. You know? And he's showing me how he does the star, and you will see that he does the star pretty nicely. I mean, and he does 8 captive spheres here in a 51mm sphere, and it's the one that is here. That's the one that he's turning.
That's his work.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that over there is his work. The tall one also.
How long will it take him to make all
I don't know, but he's very precise. I mean, I don't know.
Everybody has to be precise.
Yeah, the only thing I know about the timing is one of the pieces, it's beautiful. It's 7 inches diameter. It's a double sphere, and inside he has a central sphere and 6 interlocked around with an 8-branch large star inside these two spheres. And he spent 300 hours, he told me, approximately to do that. And it's compared to the work of François Barrault, he surpassed them as far as complexity, you know. So this, you know, I'd like to show you some of the, and this is showing how to do that one. So let's go to Paul Texier and François Barrault. And it started with this magazine, you know, and with these pictures. And François Barrault was considered the best ivory turner at the time. But he didn't want to pass his knowledge to anybody. He had even deaf and mute apprentices in his shop to make sure that his secret didn't go out, contrary to Paul Texier.
Did they have cars back there? What
Pardon?
car garage? Did they have cars back there? He said in his one-car garage workshop.
Yeah.
They didn't have cars back there.
No, I mean Paul Texier.
Oh, okay.
Paul Texier saw these pictures, and without internet, and we need to keep this in mind, and alone in his one-car garage workshop, you know, he started to find out how he was doing the Boules de Canton already. And then he reproduced the one with a yellow dot in his garage. So, and it was really enjoyable and refreshing, you know, to spend a few days with Paul Texier to see his techniques and also his ingenious tricks, you know. And he surpasses his mentor, that's no doubt about it. And François Barrault was spending a lot of time until he was 60 years old approximately in Avignon, but he doesn't have any piece at the museum. But at the reserve you can see these 3 pieces, and I took these pictures in May. And Paul Texier did the same thing maybe 10 years before, and he reproduced that one here, from the picture. And if you go to the museum in Paris, in the Conservatoire des Arts et Métiers, you see a lot of pieces from François Barrault.
Can you explain how those interlocking ones are made? I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I have a piece of paper. The Bergeron show you how to do that. By the way, Paul Texier doesn't use the same method. And he showed me what he does. He has more precisions about the interlock of the sphere and the thickness of the sphere, the way he does it. The way Robert Bosco does it and the way it's written in the book, you work in the dark because you work inside something that you don't see too much. But it's there. I send you the picture if you want. So
Original Boules de Canton was made by the Chinese?
no, was made in 1581 in Nuremberg, Germany, and that's recorded. But now the Chinese are talking about Boules de Canton with 52 layers. What do they call layers? I don't know. 52 layers, even in ivory. Even if you have a sphere that is 1 millimeter thick, you know, 52 of them times the space that you have between, you have a track like that, you know, a desk like that. So I don't know. But no, not that thick. So I don't know what we are talking about when we talk about 52 layers. You know, I mean, Paul Texier did one with 22 spheres inside, and it's approximately 7 inches diameter. And previously, I noticed that one guy was doing it in ivory with 20 inside, but he was doing a metal lathe with a cross table with more adjustment. Paul Texier does it by hand. You know? So that's.
Is it possible to buy these tools, or do you have to make everything if you want to get into this?
You can buy them for the 7th sphere. For all the others, you need to do your tools.
Okay, so for this size you can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it will be in the major league, you know, in the link.
So we'll be sending all that information out, folks.
So
We look forward to seeing them at Show and Tell.
This is a piece that he reproduced from pictures, you know.
Wow.
And then when you go to his on the reserve, you see that piece here, and he reproduced it also. And that's an 8 pieces. And in the middle here, you have a vase. you know, and this is two interlocked sphere here. This piece is the only one that you can see outside France, and you can see it in the Getty Museum in Los Angeles. And this one is one of the last ones that he did, and he sold it to Napoleon I for 2,000 francs, equivalent of $26,000 or $28,000 these days. And it's the same philosophy, you know, a lot of little sphere with a star inside or a cube or something like this. The most complicated one that he did was this one with a double sphere interlock inside the oval. Paul Texier did one with 3 inside. And so when you visit his apartment, that's his project. So you don't know what to look. I mean, you see here, again, 3 of them here. Here you see 4 of them, you know. This one is the one with 22 spheres inside. And when you look at the trembler that he does also a sphere with star. And this is one piece. And between the motif, it's 3.5 millimeter or 4 millimeter. So when he has this on his lathe, and he work on that one, he has a propeller in his lathe. You know? And he showed me the chuck that he used. The chuck are like this, conic and so on, with wire to maintain everything. I mean, and well, that's Paul Texier. Yes, here you mean they are approximately between 3 centimeters to 3.5 centimeters.
They're not spheres, they're oblong, right?
What more? No, they are round with stars.
They're all.
Yes, all round. Oh yes, spheres.
I thought that the one before you had looked like it was oval.
Yeah, the other one is oval with a 2 sphere inside or 3 sphere inside. Yes, it's oval. He does eggs also. I mean, unbelievable. And these are the pieces that are in the museum in Egin. That is little corner. So you see the 3 here, you know, and he put the thing in the middle to maintain them, you know, and stuff. This one, for example, is a 32 star at different level of the sphere. This one is with a cube, and the summit of the cube is at the same radius than the sphere. So you're talking about 3, and remember, it's the same piece of wood, no glue, no nothing. Here he has 9, with a star of 6 branches. And that's the one that he spent over 300 hours. Imagine he did all the work with this little hole. And he has, in the middle, he has these 6 interlock with an 8-branch star inside. So he went over what François Barrault does, and I'm trying to get him a foot in the museum in Paris to have his pieces moved in the museum. This should be in the museum. It's unbelievable. For me, he's the François Barrault of the 21st century. And thank you again to allow me to meet these guys. So I will give you the YouTube. All right. And you have another, Claude Letec did a book, because a lot of people call that ornamental turning. This is not ornamental turning. Because
So
when
Jean,
you do,
we talked about this yesterday. You said it's not ornamental turning. So define what you mean by ornamental turning.
Well,
Why it's not this.
first of all, you need ornamental turning is to do this type of thing. That's ornamental turning. So you set up your machine and you come and so on. The tool is fixed, and you start your machine. 3 hours after you come back and it's done.
It's done. So okay.
So
It's automated.
it's automated, you know, and it does a little. I mean, this is wood turning, because you are, when you do a plater or a platter or a ball or an holoform, you are in front of your machine. You have you have your tools in your hand and you do something. That's the same thing.
It's all by hand.
They use this on, and they attach that on ornamental turning to make nice pieces, but that is wood turning. The Paul Texier, and by the way, the manual of 1816 come to the force. And
Good name.
Paul Detect did a brochure, it's 300, I'll give you the link also, 320 pages of things that he did like that, and he called it to the force wood turning. And I mean, he did a lot of, and of course, Paul Texier shows all over the place. But, you know, he did, see, they used some of the wood turning on a motor, you know, just to show the,
Combine the two
Yeah.
together.
yeah.
Go next to the last one.
But, yeah,
Next to the last page.
oh, yeah. No, this one, he has all the platonic,
No, the next one.
this one.
Yeah. That's one piece of wood.
You have a video. You will have a video on our website.
So just hold that up again, that last one. I think it's undercover.
Covered, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the cover also.
So you're telling us that this is made from one piece of
One
wood,
piece of wood.
and it's made it's not cut up and then put back together?
I saw the tool that he's using, Jean-Claude Charpentier, and his tools, he did everything with the same tools, and, you know, unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right.
And that's the article that I download, you know, how Paul Texier started these things, you know. And that's the article that I sent to the museum because of things that I read, you know. So he saw this thing, you know, and he went ahead and used that one, you know. And all the, I mean, with no information and nothing, alone, without internet, you know. With internet, you can go and find out how we do basket illusion and do some improvement, only, that's it. But he had to discover everything by himself, you know. And this is unbelievable. And that's not important. The most important is the human quality of Paul. His humility, his kindness, share everything, you know. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I noticed that the first time I talked to him on the phone. I felt something, you know. And when he decided to do this type of work, he decided not to sell anything because he didn't want to go against people that were turning for living. So imagine, that tells you something about the person. I mean, it has been unbelievable.
Folks have any questions for this
So
incredible
if somebody
presentation?
wants to do, they can use my tools. Thank you. You know, for a starting point. I mean,
Yeah.
no problem.
Any takers?
Have you ever made two spheres that interlink?
That's my next. I have a little list, and that's why I got larger to do the tool, because you need a larger tool to go in between the sphere inside.
So you're going to bring us the interlinked sphere at the next Chantal, right?
Yeah,
Next year.
I'd like to do that, and also the box inside the sphere.
Wow.
And Paul Texier was invited to go to Montreal with Claude Letec and Daniel MacDonald, and he came and he brought a project, you know, an egg or a sphere, I think, with the box inside and the lid. And the Canadians say, well, what's inside the box? I said, what's inside the box? Nothing. He said, well, what about the sphere? And he said, I didn't see a sphere in the picture. And when he went back to France, he put a sphere and a star inside the sphere.
That'll teach him.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of a teacup and saucer inside of this.
Yeah. You do have your sphere, huh?
It's up here somewhere.
No.
It went around the room.
Is it this one? No, this one is 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jean-Louis? All right. Well, we have a, yes. As they say in France, formidable.
Formidable. If somebody wants to use the tool,
Anyone want to take Jean-Louis up on his offer of
2 years.
and have it for 2 years? All right, so before we break up, we have a raffle.
Jerry's not on there if you want to sign.
Peter.
Oh, Peter, sorry.
Pete? No? Okay. So we have 49 names on here.
I think there's a couple on top of the second column that aren't numbered.
Oh, so there are, including yours.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to make them 50. 51. Okay, so there are 51 people on the list. And I have this random number generator here. Drum roll. It says 1 through 51 generate. Number 30 is Rich Anderson.
Thank you.
Go and get your piece, Rich. Where are you? Hey, there you go. So which boule is it that Rich is going to get? The one that you're... Throw it to him.
Thank you.
I think another round of applause, folks. All right, wood raffle.
Wait, last call, Peter's here to sell.
Yes,
Everybody got to
last
see
call
what
for
was
what's in-
here.
Come and get your raffle tickets.
All right, this is an American accent. And how would they say that in the UK? How would they say that in the UK?